We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. You find the show at Locked On Astros. Your team every day. Brett, where can they find you at?
You can find me at HTown Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
The Astros have officially signed Jake Odorizzi to a deal, and we know what the financial terms are. And if we have recorded this show 30 minutes earlier, we would not have known this. So it's actually good that Brett's practice ran a little bit late because we would not have known and would have been kicking ourselves in the tail because we recorded too soon. But there's some juicy details, and yes, it's some good juicy details. We'll be talking about this and more on tonight's Locked On Astros podcast. You can get Locked On Astros on podcasting app Himalaya, as well as Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And when you get in your car, tell your smart device played podcast Locked On Astros. So today, sources said that the Astros, including the sources were the Houston Astros, said the Astros have officially announced that the Astros have signed Jake Odorizzi to a 2-year deal with the Astros have not officially said with the player option for the 2023 season, but that's pretty much I guess not guaranteed, but it's pretty much in stone. Before we talk too much about the actual player details, let's talk a little bit about what happened. So James Click announced that the contract and initially the terms of the deal was not to close, but the Astros, the 40-man roster was full, so they had to make a deal. So I here's what I think happened. We know that we had the 8 players who on the safety protocol or whatever they were calling
for COVID,
that.
right?
Yeah, for COVID. So I think they just kind of reached into the hat and they had all the names folded in the hat. And so they're like, okay, let's just reach in there. And they're like, okay, who do we got? Oh, we got Pedro Baez. We're going to put him on the IL. And that apparently, I did not know this, but when players on the COVID IL, the 19 IL, they do not count against the 40-man roster. In other words, they're removed, and that opens a spot on the 40-man roster temporarily.
Now, okay, are you joking about thinking that they pulled his name out of the hat because would you chance Enoli Paredes being on that 40, being off the 40? I'm just saying, like, I think
Why
that's
him?
good.
I mean,
Here,
what
well,
was he actually the one that maybe tested positive? We don't know.
he could be the guy that takes the less brunt or they don't take as big of a blow if he's not on there. But what happens when he comes off of the IL?
Well, he has to, in order to come back off the IL now, he's going to have to test, not test
positive
positive
twice.
in order
Okay.
to come off. So, yes. So, this is something in order to get back on the 40-man roster. So when
someone's getting cut.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to get cut eventually. So, we're going to have to probably discuss that. And that means either somebody's going to have to be put on the 60-day IL, aka Forrest Whitley. I don't think the Astros have really decided what to do there. Framber Valdez, I believe that he's still not on the IL yet as well. So they're still kind of in limbo. So what this does is this just gives them a temporary respite to just kind of make the decision before they commit. It's just kind of just like a temporary dating situation. You don't have to commit to this partner for a
you
long.
And your dating analogies are hilarious. I love it. No, it's obviously I'm not dating for obvious reasons because I'm married, but yeah, so like it's kind of like I don't know, I'm really bad at dating analogies. I've been out of the game for a long time, so that's right in your wheelhouse, no pun intended.
Yeah, I see what you did there. So Odorizzi, I forgot this last year. Remember, there was a whole bunch of players who actually signed a qualifying offer last year. He was one of them. And so he could have signed a multi-year deal, but he was like, you know what? I bet on myself, and I'm going to go ahead and take the $17.8 million qualifying offer and instead testing open market. And it didn't pay off for him. And he was his agent was over the offseason, his agent was asking for a 3-year, $45 million offer deal for teams to sign him. No wonder it took so long for a team to sign him. He was asking for a lot. And when we talk in the next segment about what he signed for, it's pennies on a dollar for what he wanted. And it just shows, I don't know if it's the fact that he had 3 trips to the IL last year. I'm not sure, but this
I think his
guy,
2020 really hurt him, to be
yeah,
honest. I think
yeah.
it really hurt
And
him.
so I think him betting, I know when we had Lance McCullers on, we talked about how he likes to bet on himself, uh, and he knows that he has confidence in himself. I think Odorizzi probably had the same confidence. In 2019, he was an all-star with Minnesota. He was 15-7 with a 3.51 ERA. He had 178 strikeouts that season, 159 innings. He had 129 ERA plus.
Which is
So
really good.
yeah,
Which anything over 100, for people that don't know, anything over 100 is actually
is
really
way
good.
above a league average. So
Yeah.
yes. So yeah. So that was an impressive season. That's where a lot of people started opening his open eyes, and you would thought that he would have used that to kind of go out there and get that big time deal, but he accepted that qualifying offer. And he was like, "Oh, let me just get this $17.8 million," and it didn't
I,
really turn out for that good for him.
I wish I got a qualifying offer of $17.8 million. I would take it.
Yeah. So I don't know if Pedro Baez's name was just drawn out of a hat, or if he
I know.
was really tested positive, or I don't know what the whole situation was, but that was just kind of random. It's just like, okay, why Pedro Baez? But
They're like, Pedro, didn't you have a really bad cough last night? And he's like, no. They're like, no, didn't you really have a bad cough? And he's like, oh yes, my bad.
speaking of having a bad cough, what if
Uh-oh.
you're like driving and it sounds like your mufflers has a bad cough, or it just sounds like your car's not doing great and you need a part?
That's an
What
excellent
where should
question.
you go?
You should go to rockauto.com. With the ever increasing numbers of makes and models, it's impossible to stock all the parts you need in a traditional storefront. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the counterman orders the parts on his computer, choosing only the brand his warehouse carries? One reason to maintain your car and repair it is to save money. Why would you choose to spend 30, 50, sometimes 100% more for the exact same auto parts when you can get them cheaper at rockauto.com? Chain stores have different price tiers, if you don't know that, for professional mechanics and do-it-yourselfers. Rockauto.com's prices are the same for everybody across the board. So they have everything from engine control modules to brake parts to tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. I don't know who needs new carpet, but they got it. Whether it's for your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in just a few easy clicks. It's an easily navigable website. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle. Best of all, the prices at rockauto.com are always reliably low, and the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Go to the rockauto.com right now and see the parts available for your car or truck, right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
And a great part about this order of the commercials is a great part about being a do-yourselfer is you can, while you're working on your car, you can have a belching beaver. So why don't you go and tell us about belching beaver?
So Belching Beaver started in 2012 in California, and their goal was to have a damn good time. And I'm going to talk about this because it is amazing. They have everything from hard seltzers to mango IPAs. They have a new flavor called Hazer's Gonna Haze. It's actually available year round. But I tell you this, the hard seltzers are amazing. I had one the other night when we were on air, and it was actually really, really good. They have a sour series. They have batch 6, batch 8, batch 9, Ninja Orchard. I mean, you name it, they got it. Toucan Punch. I can't wait to try some of these. They have come to Texas. And if you go to belchingbeaver.bev, you can find where your local liquor store or store carries Belching Beaver. They were created in 2012 to have a damn good time. So put your headphones on and drink away. And if you're in California Oceanside area, check out one of their breweries coming to Austin, hopefully real soon. Belchingbeaver.com, the best beer in the biz.
Alrighty, in the words of the great movie Jerry Maguire, show me the money. And the past couple of days, Astros fans have all become accountants trying to figure out this whole luxury tax threshold thing. And Jake Odorizzi, this is something that we've all been talking about. How much money did he make? And even today, when they announced it, the terms of deal were not disclosed. And I believe it was Mark Feinstein finally kind of broke the news earlier. And we heard that it was, I think it was John Heyman that said that it could be up to 30 million over 2 years, but
Yes.
it actually became that is the ceiling for it. But this is what, according to Mike Feinstein, this is what it is. He's guaranteed 20.25 million over 2 years with the Astros, but he will earn about almost 24 million with 30 appearances combined in 2021 and 2022.
So hold on.
Yes.
Only 30 appearances?
And only 30 appearances. Yes.
So he only has to pitch 15 games this year and 15 games next year. Wow.
It's basically like,
can I sign his agent?
Here's half of your answers.
Yeah.
Here's half the answers for a test.
That's a damn good deal. We just came off of having a damn good time with Belching Beaver. That's crazy, dude.
Also, so he gets a $6 million signing bonus for this year and a $5 million signing bonus in 2022. And there's also a 2023 player option worth $6.5 million with a $3.25 million buyout. But escalators can max those out at $12.5 million and $6.25 million respectively. So basically, he can make $12.5 million in 2023.
Okay.
So basically, overall, he can make up to about 30. Let's say about $42 million over the 3-year deal.
That's not bad at all. I mean, right. the Astros finagled it in a way that they're not paying max dollars what he wanted, but he's still getting just about what he asked for. And who knows, Eric? Let's say this guy works out and he does really well his first 2 years. He has. Let's take Charlie Morton, right? Charlie Morton had success here. Why wouldn't you want to have a third-year player option if he's still really good and your team is competitive in 3 years? Why not bring him back? He's only 33 by then, right?
Oh, that's a good comparison. What if we had Charlie Morton for one more year?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you would have had Morton for that next season, I mean, what would have happened? What could have been? Now, I'm not saying that Jake Odorizzi is Charlie Morton, but nobody thought Charlie Morton was Charlie Morton until he got here and turned his career around.
Right. So now here is what everybody has been waiting for. What does it mean for the luxury tax payroll? So according to Ken Rosenthal, for the purpose of calculating the Astros luxury tax payroll, the AAV will be 7.83 million per year over the 3 years. So that's 23.5 million over the 3 years, which is 7.83 million per year. So that means for 2021, it's only 7.83 million. So that's going to leave them a little bit shy of that $210 million. But that means we're still going to be a little short with, we're still going to be really close if they add Cishek and Souza Jr. So
right, I think, but see, I think if Souza Jr. makes the roster or makes opening day roster, I think you can get him on the cheap because of his injuries.
The contract is already guaranteed. If he makes
okay,
Brett.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. No, it's okay.
No, it's fine. No, I want the listeners to know. So this is I'm looking at Sports Track right now. If Souza Jr. makes the roster, this is what he's supposed to make. Right now he's on a minor league deal, but and he can opt out, I believe, if he doesn't make the major league roster. But he's going to make $1.15 million if he makes the major league roster.
Well, that's on the cheap. I was thinking that it was more like 2 or 3 million.
Okay, but that's getting us closer to.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
But then now Steve Cishek by the Seashore, he's going to make 2.25 million if he makes the major
Okay.
league roster. So that's another 3.75
Yeah.
no 3.35 million or something.
All right, math
So
teacher. All right, math
so
teacher.
that's another, if you think about that, that's another 10 million. So that's getting them pretty close. So if you
Right.
look at Sports Track, and let me see if they've updated it, because I think I thought they were updating it earlier. Let me refresh it. But according to Sports Track, oh yeah, they did update it. So this was after, yes, no, they don't have them. Yeah, they do have it updated. So this is updated. This is breaking news. So according to Sports Track now, the total, the Astros luxury tax salary right now is 203.991 million. So that means their leftover tax base, including Cishek and Souza, is $6 million. That's all they
Oh,
have for the
so,
rest.
okay. So with Cishek and Souza Jr., they still have a surplus of 6
Yes, that's to
before
make
they
any
get the
addition.
penalty.
Yes, that's for the rest of the year. So the Astros somehow finagled their way into getting the
Hey,
job done. I
I
don't
you
know
know
how they did it.
I think it's good. Now I'm going to ask you this, and our listeners can. I'm sure we've got listeners that are way more baseball intelligent than I am, but I really don't care because I love asking questions. But how does a player make 23 million in a season and it only counts 7.83 against
No,
the
it's not in a
AA?
season. It's the whole he's going to make it's 20.25 million over 2 years.
Right, but I mean, okay, so it's 10 this year, but how does it only count 7.83?
Because of the just the signing bonuses,
Okay,
and
okay,
just the remember how I said it,
right.
just it's just the way
Okay,
it kind of
so
works
it's
out.
the
And it's the fact that it's the third year. I was reading up on
okay,
that before the show, and it's because of that third year, even though it's a player option, that third year adds it adds the extra space. And you know how it's the 6.5 million, that kind of lowers it.
okay,
So you average out. So it's 10, 10, 6. So that kind of
okay.
averages out a little bit.
Oh, okay, okay. That makes perfect sense. I guess I just have never. I mean, I've been so busy this year with
That's
school and
fine.
everything,
All
so
right. So
that's good to news. That's
don't
good
worry
to know.
about that. And that's why you have the experts like the Sports Track. And speaking of betting, what about betonline.ag?
Bet online is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all sports action. Football may be over, but NBA, college basketball, and the NHL is in full swing. Also, MMA, UFC's been going on. Bet online even covers awards, TV shows, and reality TV. Real time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine, like the props I put up today for not props, but the betting line for Alex Bregman to win the MVP has now gone to plus 1400 where it was lower. So it's changed because of his injury status. But you can check those things out. Check out where the Astros are, I believe, plus 155 to win the division, or 125. Head to this website with your mobile device, sign up today, and you'll receive 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Bet online, your online sportsbook experts. Use the promo code Locked On.
And speaking of that, why don't you go check out the Locked On Bets podcast? Betting on the Astros doesn't have to be a guessing game. If you like listening to the new Locked On Bets podcast, hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling, get daily picks, blowout specials, Ron Team's favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. Subscribe to the Locked On Bets podcast, brought to you by your betonline.ag, wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget, tomorrow is our next edition of the Locked On MLB, what do you call them? Division crossover. We're going to be
Division Day,
having,
yeah.
yeah, Division Day. We're going to have Jason Burke of the Locked On A's podcast. Anybody that remembered him, he used to write about the Astros. He actually trained me over at Climbing Taos Hill, and now he writes about the A's and hates the Astros. So this is going to be a great show. And yeah, listen to that, and let's go Astros. And speaking of go Astros, let's continue this conversation. So that means the Astros only have 6 million for the rest of the season to spend. That means we're probably going to have a very boring trade deadline. you're not gonna don't expect them to go out there and make a big splash. You're not gonna go out there and get a big closer. Like how much did Trevor Rosenthal get? It
Oh
wasn't it
gosh,
11 million?
yeah, it was like
They're
11
not
million.
going to go and trade with the A's for Trevor Rosenthal.
Well, the A's aren't going to trade with us anyways
Well,
because they're in
you know what
division.
I
I
mean.
know what you mean. I understand the point you're making. That's correct. Hey, they do have enough money to hire us as personalities to work with the Astros because I definitely don't need anywhere near $6 million to
Hey,
work.
they may need some relievers at their trade deadline. So, how can you throw at least 40
I
miles
so
per hour?
my fastball is about the speed of Zach Greinke's ephus pitch. I can top out at 71, but then my shoulder's iced the next day. Um, I still have movement on my curveball. Um,
Okay, I think we need somebody with a radar gun, and we need to test this out. I don't believe you.
yes,
I do not believe
yes,
you. Okay,
yes,
okay.
I clocked
Locked on
my I
Astros
clocked.
fans. We need to,
I
we need to test this out. I do not believe this.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
We need to figure this out. Get it on live on Twitter, and let me see if I can't just throw my arm out one more time. But I promise you, I can touch
71.
71.
No way. No way. I doubt that. All right. But anyway, so I don't think you're gonna see the Astros go out and get a big time name like that. But what
Like
I think the
H Town
Astros,
Wheelhouse.
I think what you can do is you can go out and maybe trade for a prospect like a young, controllable arm, like somebody who's got maybe 3 or years of arbitration eligible, somebody like a Ryan Presley at the time, somebody who's got some years of control left, that type of thing, and who's cheap. And so that's somebody the Astros could go for. But I'm just trying to think of ways of staying under the luxury tax threshold because
Or
you've got to
or
do this for the whole season because it doesn't matter where they are now; it's where they finish.
or if everything works out, you don't have to worry about doing that. You know, if the pitching situation works out, if Odorizzi ends up being an all-star again, if Christian Javier does what he's supposed to do at the back end of the rotation, um, Joe Smith and company just comes in and takes command and does what they need to do. You've got this offense I think is going to take off, is going to light a fire under some people, and if they come through and they do what they're supposed to do or what they need to do, at least, I think if they do what they need to do and just a little bit more, I think they'll be fine. What helps us in the division, Eric, is that our division is somewhat weaker after Oakland. I know the Angels can be competitive, but they're still the Angels. They don't have great pitching. The Mariners, they're young, they're feisty, but they're not really a threat. And the Rangers are just kind of there. They're like the Baltimore Orioles of our division. And so um, that helps us a lot being ultra competitive for this AL West. So we may not have to do anything. Justin, you may be able to hang your hat on Justin Verlander coming in for the postseason, and that may be all you need.
If Justin Verlander makes a comeback, don't expect him to be like a starter. He'll probably be a David Price like reliever.
No, right, but his mere presence in the clubhouse and him being out there alone gives you an advantage.
Right.
Just to have Justin Verlander there.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the MLB pipeline. They just released their new top 30, and Forrest Whitley is still #1 up there, even though he's going to miss the entire season. Well, I know he's still getting second opinion, but likely he's going to be out with the Tommy John surgery. Maybe this is the time where he learns how to. Remember what Lance McCullers said when he was on the podcast? He said he had to learn how to pitch without he had all that time to kind of just work on stuff. So maybe this would be a chance for Forrest Whitley to kind of learn how to become a better pitcher without being so violent. Pedro Leon has shot all the way up to #2. Hunter Brown is on there. Jeremy Pena is #4. Corey Lee is up there. Luis Garcia, Fredis Nova, Colin Barber, Jairo Solis, Tyler Ivey, and Alex Santos. He's dropped a little bit, but he's still in the rookie leagues. And Sean Dubin is on there too as well. And Zach Daniels, Brian Brayu, Peter Solomon, and
Right now, yeah. So these guys, Eric. I mean, if you look at their arrival dates, a lot of these guys are showing, Pena's showing 2021. Garcia, he's here. Um, you have Tyler Ivey showing 2021, Dubin 2021. Brian Abreu is here. I don't think the future is as grim or as terrible as some people make I know the Astros whole minor league system or as a whole maybe isn't the best because it's not, but who we have that's ready, that's on the cusp of becoming a major league player. I really like what we have. Um, and it just at the end of the day, you have to really wonder if this kid Hunter Brown is going to fast track himself into maybe a I don't know if he would come up. I think the only way he comes up this year is if there's like injury issues. But come in 2022, he comes in. He could be competitive for a long relief spot, and if
Yeah,
we
he
don't have
didn't
enough
pitch in
pitchers,
2020, so yeah,
right?
it's gonna be
So a lot of these guys are going to be
yeah.
affected by that, I guess, and you forget about that. But I still think the future looks bright.
Yeah. So there's a lot of there's not the big names like there used to be, and the Astros used to kind of pride themselves on the big names. And like Jim Callis said, when your one big name has to have Tommy John surgery, your kind of farm system's kind of busted. But the
That's true.
Astros, here the Astros are in this situation because they are a perennial competitor for the World Series. And that's when you put yourself in that situation, you're going to have to make these trades to improve it. So the
So
Astros,
there,
go ahead.
so there are a lot of people. I was listening to various radio shows today, and there are local radio hosts who are like, you know what, Forrest Whitley is done. Like Forrest Whitley is Mark Appel. Forrest Whitley is Brady Aiken. I mean, they were tearing him to shreds today on the radio. And there's a lot of people who they're like, why even when he comes back from Tommy John, why not trade him when he gets healthy? This kid's
Nobody's going to want them.
yeah, you're not gonna. And so I'm just like, golly, like the stroke of luck that this kid's had because he's got the stuff. I mean, he's had the
Ooh.
expectations. Everyone has asked for him in every trade that we've made, you know?
Ooh, Brady Aiken's career has been terrible. Geez, he has a career 5.18 ERA in the minor leagues.
You didn't know that? Yeah, he's not good.
Thank you,
I mean,
Brady Aiken, for Alex Bregman. Wow. Yeah, yeah, that's why they're called prospects. They don't always pan out, and um, Jeff Luno knew that, and that's why. Oh, by the way, I was this old when I realized that we're still paying John Singleton. I
you didn't know they're still paying him?
I thought that they, I
You thought
thought
it was
that
over?
I thought it was over. I didn't
No,
know we're
he's
still
he's
paying him.
our he's our Bobby Bonilla who never made it to the
Uh,
major
no
leagues.
wonder he's not playing baseball anymore. He's like, no, I could just continue. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say
Oh,
it. I'm
dude, we
not
know
gonna
he's
say it.
we know he's rolling doobies. We know that's what
All
he's doing.
righty. And with that, welcome to Houston, Jake Odorizzi. Let's hope that you return back to your 2019 form. Let's pitch more than 5 innings. Let's try to get up to that six plus innings, and let's go Astros. And just imagine how good this team will be if Framber Valdez does not miss too much time this year. Hopefully it's only maybe a couple months versus a whole season. Just imagine how dynamic this rotation can be. And we will be back tomorrow with our A's versus Astros preview. Go Astros. Lance McCullers, go pitch your butt out. 3 innings tomorrow. Astros get a W. And Miles Straw is your leadoff guy. Go Astros.